What is that one word which has become a buzzword at the Raisina dialogues? Or what is this India Thailand issue at WTO? Also, why do you need to go back to history to understand Pakistan's National Day? Hello, everyone. I am Manas Srivastav, and I'm here with the three must reads from the Indian Express today. When you open the newspaper or the Indian Express, there's one page which catches a lot of attention because of the kind of information it provides, which is very examination relevant. And one page today I'm talking about is the explained page, like always. Now, when you open the explained page, almost all the explainers are very important for enrichment of your knowledge, not only for exams but also in general. लेकिन जो दो important picks हैं from the newspaper today are uh, you know which I find very relevant for your exams. पहला जो pick है, that is this word means, which has been explained by Rishika Singh in today's newspaper. This particular word which I'm talking about is the gray zone warfare. Now, gray zone warfare was recently used by Chief of Defense Staff General Anil Chauhan at the Raisena dialogue, and he said that it is the latest informal warfare. Now, the word gray definitely lies between black and white, so it gives you a kind of a hint that what it means. लेकिन जब आप इसका definition पढ़ेंगे in the paragraph which talks about what is gray zone warfare, so gray zone warfare generally means a middle space between the black and white of direct conflict and peace. Now, जैसे कि इस explainer में बताया गया है कि that in these areas you will find uh, economic actions like debt traps, economic sanctions, you'll find cyber attacks, you'll find assassinations, disinformation campaigns, and so on and so forth. Now, this tactic of gray zone warfare was also used during the Cold War period. Okay, this rivalry between US and USSR after Second World War. So it is not a new thing. Now, what is also important in this small explainer is the examples. अभी जैसे examples की बात करें तो चाइना का नाम बहुत frequently आएगा आपके दिमाग में when you're talking about this gray zone warfare, and examples like China's military's presence in the South China Sea, or China's action around Taiwan, which have been termed as gray zone warfare. But one of the last paragraphs of this explainer also talks about how it's not only China, but US has also engaged in similar tactics. Quoting a white paper, this particular explainer talks about this, quoting a foreign policy paper. In fact, this explainer says that US also has engaged in similar tactics. These includes its economic sanctions against China and imposition of duties on Chinese imports to the US, and many other examples. So first, you should know about this word. Can be asked in your prelims objective examination. You can use it in your mains examination, essay writing. You can also talk about this term and examples when you are facing any kind of interview. Very important for foreign relations, international security issues, and so on and so forth. So this is my first pick. The second pick is this big explainer written by Ravidat Mishra, that why Thailand slammed India's farm subsidies at WTO. Now, why this particular explainer is important, the first paragraph tells you that Thailand has replaced its ambassador to the WTO after New Delhi protested her comments on India's public stock holding program, as reported by PTI on last Friday. Now, this explainer tells that the ambassador said that it's PDS under which the government procures essential food items from the producers and sell them to the public at low rates is not for the people but for capturing the export market. Okay, and the senior government, as PTI cites, officials, senior government officials stated that the language and behavior of the Thai ambassador were not in good taste. So this is the background of the whole issue. Now you have to understand that this explainer gives you chote, very important information. For example, the first, that after India, Thailand is the second largest rice exporter in the world. However, India has put temporary restriction on the rice export to arrest domestic prices. Now, it also mentioned about Cairns Group, and you should know that Thailand is a part of this group. There are 20 nations. This explainer tells you about, mentions all the 20 nations. So Cairns Group का क्या इस पे विचार है, that is important. What is the concern? Then the definition of trade distortion. Trade distortion is a situation where prices and production are higher or lower than levels that would usually exist in competitive market. WTO, according to WTO, nearly all domestic support measures are considered to distort such trade, but they are permitted to a certain limit called the de minimis limit. Again, another important term which you should know is the WTO's agreement on agriculture. The provision under which is that the aggregate value of the product's specific support should not exceed 5% of the total value of production of the agriculture product in question. Remember that the number 5%. In the case of developing countries such as India, the de minimis ceiling is 10%. Now, this is a very important point for any prelims based, objective based questions, okay, or where they can play with these numbers. Now, you have to understand this particular explainer from the background of the MSP issue, the India stand in WTO, then the farmers demands, which is the our domestic issue here. So इन सारे इश्यूज को आपको बैकग्राउंड में चलाना है, इसी वजह से ये एक्सप्लेनर डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली it becomes very relevant, okay, from the perspective of what is happening in current and what is there in the background. Now, another important term which I think you should always keep in mind here is the peace clause. Now, there is this paragraph which says that Cairns Group is also attacking the peace clause triggered after India breached the de minimis limit. So the interim peace clause was put in place in 2013 under the Bali Agreement. Remember this Bali Agreement, to protect developing countries from being challenged for breach of subsidy levels. However, it comes with many conditions, onerous conditions, including a host of notification requirements, making it difficult to use. Okay, now you have to, as I mentioned earlier, you have to keep in mind these terms, this peace clause, the PDS, the India's public stockholding program, WTO's agreement on agriculture, trade distortion, the Cairns Group. So all these things you have to keep in mind, make small notes, and enrich your knowledge on this particular issue. The last pick of the day is again from the explained section, but it comes from the online article. And the online article, which is written by Yashi, and it has some very valuable inputs by in-house foreign policy and strategy experts, Shubhajit Roy. The title is Pakistan National Day to be celebrated in Delhi. What was the Lahore resolution and which it marks? Okay, so this is something around Pakistan National Day. Now, आपको ऐसा लगता है कि इंडिया के एग्जाम से why Pakistan becomes very important? Please understand that we share a common history, and therefore, whenever historical angle will come, whenever foreign relations or foreign policy angle will come, these kind of articles become very important. So, as I mentioned, that this particular article becomes important for two reasons. First is, of course, the historical reason, where we talk about the Lahore resolution, and the second is the foreign diplomacy. Okay, now simply अगर मैं foreign diplomacy की बात करूं, so इस particular explainer में mention है कि as the new government takes over the reins in Pakistan, it is attempting to start a low key and a low risk engagement with India after years of diplomatic chill. For this, Pakistan has decided to hold its National Day celebration in New Delhi again this year after a 4-year gap caused by COVID-19 pandemic and the deteriorating ties between the two countries. Okay, so there is this angle of foreign relations, the foreign policy, the foreign strategy, diplomatic relations. And then we come to history part, where Lahore resolution क्या था ये बताया गया. तो Lahore resolution adopted by All India Muslim League during its general session in Lahore from March 22 to March 24, 1940, formally called for an independent state for India's Muslims. अब क्या इस resolution में Pakistan word used था? So the explainer tells us that while the resolution does not include the word Pakistan, keep that in mind, and some have even debated if its text calls for one separate nation or two, Pakistan celebrates it as its national day. Now, तो आपको ये चीज ये फैक्ट एक ध्यान में रखना है. It's an interesting fact to note. And then there is also a bit of history that how in 1956 the country officially adopted its first constitution. And there's also mention of Minar-e-Pakistan. You will also see the image of Minar-e-Pakistan. Now, what does this resolution say? Again, it's important, but you should not go in depth. But it does mention what are the debatable points there. But what is more important is what led to Lahore resolution. And therefore, this paragraph becomes very important. Till the early 1930s, many Muslims had been agitating for better representation and safeguarding of their rights within the Indian Union and the separate electorate granted to them in the Government of India Act 1935. Underline, no more about it. Was a step towards that. However, as the decade progressed, the voices that demanded a total break from India got stronger. The Lahore resolution was a culmination of years of this churn, bringing the Muslim League to a point from which it never turned back. Okay, so there is this kind of a history here. There's also mentioned that how many Indian Muslims criticized Lahore resolutions, which included Abdul Kalam Azad and Deoband ulema led by Hussain Ahmad Madani, who advocated for united India. Then there is also a mention, which I think is a ready-made fodder for your prelims-based examination, of Khaksar tragedy. And it says that the Muslim League session was held days after the Khaksar tragedy, when members of a Muslim group called the Khaksars, fighting for India's independence, were shot by the British on March 19 in Lahore, killing many. So keep that in mind too. Okay, so these are my three top picks, must reads from the Indian Express today. Two coming from the newspaper directly. One, you'll find it on indianexpress.com. Please write to me. Let me know your three picks, three must reads at manas.srivastav@indianexpress.com. That's all from me today. Think smart, work hard, conquer your goal.